Hello, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Pedigree Radio. I'm your host, Jared Golnitz. So we will get into some of these Saratoga pedigrees as well as the stakes card today at Monmouth. But before we get into pedigrees, I just wanted to share a little story that happened this week. So not long after last week's show with George Adams, the hard drive on my laptop, my old trusty Dell computer, went. And I'm not being paid for any advertisements or no other compensation received. But so my laptop hard drive crashed, and I'd replaced the hard drive once before, but went to replace it again and somehow managed to mess up the motherboard. So to the Amazon.com portal I went looking for a new computer. And I happened to come across this one that has no fans. It seemed to be pretty well spec'd out with solid state drives, 16 gig of RAM, and a lot of other nice little perks. So, but it was amazingly small, and it did not have a fan on it, which means that it would be perfectly silent for radio, which I thought, hey, perfect. So this company is called Dell. Kingdel. They are a Chinese company, or maybe Hong Kong. And I bought the NC960 computer, and it arrived about midday yesterday. So I've been spending most of the weekend getting my computer back up and running, getting all the software installed that I use for the radio production. And so I've been pretty busy, but I've been very happy with this Dell NC960 so far. And I think you guys, again, that's Kingdel. If you go on Amazon, they have them available, but it's a pretty speedy machine, and it was $575. So it was a very low-cost machine as well, but very solidly built. I don't think it's going to be breaking anytime soon, just with its very rigid metal case. Almost no moving parts to it as well, so it's also very portable. So I think it's worth taking a look at. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the pedigrees. But before we do that, I just wanted to let you know that our listener line is open. If you want to place a call, the number is 859-328-6566. Again, that number is 859-328-6566. And we had a great show last week with George Adams. We dug into some Saratoga pedigrees with him from the previous week and had a lot of fun. So we're going to try to get George back on the air as often as possible. He enjoyed doing it as well, and it's gone over very well with our listening audience. So we will definitely try to pull him again in the near future. Anyway, so let's get started with the Grade 3 Amsterdam. We'll start with the Saratoga card. And the winner of that race was Promises Fulfilled, who we've seen run a bit. And let me pull up his pedigree here. And he is by Shackelford, out of the Marquetry Mare Marquis Delivery. And it looks like what we have here is pretty much a simple cross of both parents having Northern Dancer and Mr. Prospector. And I think it would be worth going over that cross because we keep seeing it over and over again. And we're bound to, given the prevalence of both Mr. Prospector and Northern Dancer in the modern pedigrees. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. And, both... So if you look at Northern Dancer over Mr. Prospector, you get a very close 3x3 sex balance cross of Native Dancer, who is out of the Discovery Mare, Geisha. And so you also get, Blenheim in both, Let me get it out to 6 generations here. And you get a double of a 6x6 of Mumtaz Mahal, who is also very prevalent in the breed, through Nazra and Mahmud. And so you get some nice balance there as well. Same generation of both parents for Native Dancer and Mumtaz Mahal. Looks like you get Blenheim in both parents as well. Let's see if 7 generations yields anything here. As far as females, so you get a lot of Canterbury Pilgrim up top with Native Dancer. And between the two, looks like you get some Stefan the Great, 7-7, which is kind of neat. So anyway, all right. So let's go back to Promises Fulfilled. You get Latroin from Marquetry in Neverbend. And you get this interesting blend of Latroin and Olympia. Promises Fulfilled's third dam is Copeland's Girl by Copeland. And Copeland is very... he's inbred 3 to 4 to Olympia, who, as we know, is a great speed influence who is present many times in the dam of American Pharaoh, Little Princess Emma. And he always seems to go very well with La Troyenne. And he does so as well in Copeland through Cohos, who is out of the daughter of La Troyenne named Belle of Troy. And the pedigree of Promises Fulfilled just keeps restacking more La Troyenne, War Admiral, through Forestry, whose second dam is by Dr. Fager. And Unbridled, Shackleford is out of an Unbridled mare. Unbridled, of course, has 3 lines of La Troyenne. And I want to take a look at his 4th dam, Devour, Promises Fulfilled's 4th dam. And so you get lots of Prince Bio, 4 lines, at least 4 lines, looks like 3 lines here of Prince Rose. And his tail female to Buchan, who is also from the family 16, that La Troyenne is inbred to. So there's lots to like about that mating, in addition to, the obvious success of Promises Fulfilled. There's a nice little mix that I look for, consisting of La Troyenne, Olympia, and Prince John. Prince John and Mr. Prospector both have Correction, who is Domino's champion sister. And so we could add, Mr. Prospector is also present in that mix as well, through Fabiano Unbridled, but also through Marquetry, being the grandsire of Marquetry. All right, let's look at our next one, which is the Grade 1 Alfred G. Vanderbilt, and the winner of that was Imperial Hint. Imperial Hint is by Imperialism, who is a son of Langfer. Langfer, of course, by Danzig. And Imperialism is, let's see, we have the Axe, who every time we see the Axe, we can say, hey, that's more La Troyenne, worth 1 line. And Imperial Hint is out of the La Hint mare named Royal Hint, and La Hint is a son of Woodman. And Woodman, of course, is out of the Buckpasser daughter Playmate, and Buckpasser was out of the mare Intriguing, who is out of the mare Glamour. And Glamour is the Dam of Poker in Seattle Slew. So, this is one way to, if this colt goes to, if he goes to stud, and I have no reason to believe he won't, we'd like to see some Seattle Slew here, maybe some Yes, It's True. But we'd also like to see More Than Ready here. More Than Ready is out of a Woodman mare, so that would go really well here as well. And down in the bottom of the pedigree of Imperial Hint, the third dam is by a sire named Text, T-E-X-T, who was by Speak John, who was the son of Prince John. And that hint in the dam that is, let's see, the dam's name is Royal Hint, but that double of Mr. Prospector and Prince John leading to that double of correction, certainly gave some more distance line breeding there, and just added that concentration of family 23. And let's see who's next here. Next, we have the Grade 2 Bowling Green Stakes that was won by Channel Maker. Pull up Channel Maker here. Okay, Channel Maker is by English Channel out of the Horse Chestnut Mare In Return. And there is a neat little combination here of Forley and Double J, who is present in the dam twice through both Special and through Shadid. And then Special appears again and in English Channel. So there's this, and Double J appears in English Channel's sire Smart Strike. And Double J was one of the last scions of the Domino sire line. And he was at Claiborne, and was always considered a speed influence. I think the last one of the Domino sire line we have left is actually Include, and any of his sons. So that's a line that has mostly died out, except for Include and his sons that are at stud. But Double J was one of the main carriers of that Domino sire line for many years. And so there's a lot of looks like Continuous here, and I believe Continuous is the second dam of 49er. And so we'd like to see some 49er come to this horse when he goes to stud. So some Daughters of Distorted Humor, I think would be ideal here. Pile on the Double J, and looks like there's also some Jabel and English Channels, some Jet Pilot. Let's see, Jet Action is here, so Seattle Slew would go really well here. There's a lot of players that are in Seattle Slew's pedigree that are present in the pedigree of Channel Maker, and anytime we can concentrate those, I think it's a good thing. So there's also a double of Jabel present in here, and so if we can get some Seattle Slew and also maybe some Yes It's True, or some 49er here or some Distorted Humor to keep the lines of Vandal going through Turbolon, that would be great. All right. All right, next up we have the Grade 2 Jim Dandy winner, Tenfold. Tenfold is by Curlin out of the Tappet mare Temptress. And we have this nice cross of Deputy Minister through the Dam of Curlin, more La Troyenne through Tappet, who brings in Unbridled and APND. And also present in the dam is this nice cross of Roberto and Buckpasser and Nijinsky through the Dam Temptress. So I am going to look for her to be a good outcross for any number of stallions that are carrying La Troyenne. I'd like to see some more Prince John, maybe some more Olympia here. But there are a number of ways this when Tenfold goes to stud, any number of ways he could go. If he goes there and getting third in the Preakness and winning the Jim Dandy, I think he'll be given a fair shot as well. But I think we should look again at the crosses of Roberto and Buckpasser and Nijinsky and Buckpasser. But also let's try Nijinsky and Roberto. I think haven't looked at the other two, but I think we should try this one here. And what we get is a lot of blue larkspur in the 5th generation. 1, 2, 3 blue larkspur. And sex balance of Bull E. Let's see, we get a son of Bull E through Nijinsky and a daughter of Bull E through Roberto. And lots of Nyarko. And which means, that magical cross of Bulldog and Nogara is present, all throughout this pedigree here, and through the cross of Nijinsky and Roberto. So, Tenfold brings a lot of those genetic equivalents into the pedigree, and so that is very, very clever line breeding. I also want to take a look at the 2nd place finisher in the Jim Dandy, and that is Flame Away. I want to look at the cross between Nijinsky and Mr. Prospector. And what we have is, again, more sex balance of Bulldog. We have more lines of blue larkspur, so there's a 5 to 6 cross of blue larkspur between Nijinsky and Nijinsky and Mr. Prospector. There's a 5 to 5 of Bulldog. More crosses of Mumtaz Mahal, and so these take note of these very potent ancestors. Another favorite of Olin Gentry's was Sardanapoli, who was a French bred and born in 1911. And if you look at the cross of Mr. Prospector of Roberto, and we've talked about how Roberto was really the lasting legacy in terms of pedigree planning of Olin Gentry. So let's take a look at the cross of Mr. Prospector and Roberto and see how much we get out of that, because at the onset we are looking at no less than at least 3 lines of Sardanapoli, who was as we mentioned, a favorite. So Roberto over Buckpasser, or vice versa, gets us a 3 to 3 double of Nashua through daughters. And there are other sources of Nashua out there in the gene pool still floating around. Some of them are male, but this daughter over daughter cross of Mr. Prospector and Roberto has seemed to keep reappearing. So in the cross we get a lot more Teddy. lots of lines of Teddy, and the full brothers, Bulldog, Sir Galahad, and Admiral Drake, and lots of it. There's also both of them are also tail female to blue larkspur mares, and so the dams of Roberto and Mr. Prospector are both very similarly bred. I mean, they have a lot in common, and you can add on to that. Trying to figure out where else she appears here. There's a mare named Lady Comfy that also appears a lot. Where else is she? The mare Padula also appears 3 times in the cross. And if you bear with me here, okay, so Lady Comfy also appears in Hail to Reason as the third dam of Blue Swords. And then she appears again as the dam of American Flag, who is the second dam sire of Raise a Native. So, aside from both being out of Nashville mares, Mr. Prospector and Roberto really do have just a ton in common. It should be, I think they should be crossed whenever possible. All right, so let's move on over to Monmouth for the Haskell Haskell Day card, and we will start off with the Oceanport Stakes winner, which is a Grade 3. The Oceanport Stakes Synchrony. And we'll also take it the second place finisher, who is named Dr. Mounty. There's something there worth noting, too. So Synchrony is by Tappet out of the Forest Wildcat mare Brownie Points. Interesting thing about Brownie Points, I actually one of my first homebreds was named Fiber Optic Tech, and he just recently retired. But he was from the family of Brownie Points, both through their fifth dam. Well, Synchrony's fifth dam is Yanina, and the mare I had, her name was Indy Tech, and she only produced one full for me before she ended up passing for mysterious reasons. But Fiber Optic Tech's third dam was also Yanina. So, I'm pretty familiar with the family here. But so you get Tappet, and you get this equivalence of... so Forest Wildcat is the son of Stormcat, who is the son of Stormbird. And Tappet, as we know, has a double of Nijinsky. Well, Nijinsky and Stormbird are genetic equivalents, just over and over again. Tappet seems to like more Mr. Prospector and Northern Dancer, and Brownie Points has Northern Dancer, more Mr. Prospector, and seems to like the returns of that. But Brownie Points dam, Stylish Society, is by 49er. So again, you're getting that complementary blood from Family 16 for all of the La Troyenne blood that is present in Tappet. You're getting the complement to that from Family 16 and all the lines of that through 49er. And that's 49er gave us a lasting sun and distorted humor, and we'll be feeling the effects of that for a very long time in our gene pool here in America and abroad. So that is the first place finisher, Synchrony, in the Oceanport Stakes at Monmouth. Next is the Grade 3 Monmouth Cup Stakes, who was won by a horse named Name Changer, who is a 5-year-old, and owned and bred by Colts Neck Stables. Let's see, Name Changer was by Uncle Mo, out of the Northern Fleet mare Cash's Girl. And you have this double of Roberto, over, with Mr. Prospector being the grandsire of Northern Fleet. And so you get, a lot of that rich cross that we've already talked about present, all throughout. So, there are also other lines of, a total of 2 lines of Raised Native in the pedigree. And Uncle Mo is a male line descendant of Caro, who, like 49er, brings a lot of family 16 blood. And, interesting to note that there really isn't a whole lot of La Troyenne in the blood here, except through Quadrangle, who is the son of Cohos. And there's also in reality who also goes very well with La Troyenne, but doesn't have much, if any. Relaunch had some La Troyenne, but this is a good candidate for bringing back a lot of La Troyenne into the pedigree, where there really isn't much. There's a couple lines, but we'd like to see more Prince John here. We'd like to see more, maybe some Never Bend would be a good addition to this. This has a lot of more of the European Canadian flavor to it, and so you might be looking at more of a turf pedigree with some of these other types here. So again, this is Name Changer, who won the Monmouth Cup Stakes. Next up is the Grade 3 Windstar Matchmaker Stakes. And the winner of that race is Elysee's World. And Elysee's World was a daughter of Champs-Élysées, out of the Singspiel mare Ideal World. And a lot like Gunrunner, you have a double of Blush and Groom here with Fabiano. And also, some Nijinsky in here. If I could. Champs-Élysées was actually a son of Danehill, so you get that double of Natalma, tail female to Buck Passer in Danehill. So you already have some of that La Troyenne blood, but also you get some of that through Fabiano in the bottom, and also you get it through Never Bend in the dam, in the 5th dam actually, through Never Bend's son, New Prospect. So you could go a number of different ways with this pedigree as well. If you want to stay with the turf, there's a lot of dirt influence here too, but this would be a good outcross for Tappet, or any son of Tappet, or any other AP Indy really. We'd like to maybe see more doubling of Fabiano through Unbridled. So Tappet would be a good candidate for this particular mare. It looks like she's been primarily a turf runner, and Tappet might not be a turf runner. Maybe throw some Kitten's Joy at her, and get a lot more La Troyenne, some more Buck Passer, and get some of that El Prado blood mixed in there. So I want to do a hypothetical really quick and just see what she would look like with Kitten's Joy. Give me a moment here. And I love this mating. There's a double of Roberto. Let's see. Actually, that would lead to a double of Roberto. At least a double of Buckpasser. Let me look at a 7 here. 7 generation. Lots of Tom Fool throughout the pedigree here. Herbiger in the dam through Singspiel. Herbiger, of course, a family 16. Bringing in some Cohos. Have some Crimson Satan here through Mount Livermore in the dam. And, so maybe some Stormcat would go well here as well. Or some Yes, It's True. Those two have quite a bit in common. Maybe some 2-punch. If you can find a stallion with 2-punch. But, just keeping in mind this is a mare. You can think of stallions for her. But, Kitten's Joy would be a good cross. If they want to send her over to Frankel, I'm sure that would be more than appropriate given Frankel's success on turf. So you get a nice double of Sadler's Wells, a double of Danehill. Actually, I kind of like Frankel better for this cross. You get a double of Mr. Prospector. See, you kind of get that Mizwaki over. Galileo cross again. With more Galileo. So you get 2 horses that are more genetically equivalent with Frankel with LSA's World, and that's the cross we'd like to see if they can, if the owners are up for it. The price tag of Frankel, which don't really know why they wouldn't be, but anyway, let's go to the Grade 3 Molly Pitcher, that was won by Burned. Burned is a daughter of Bernardini out of the Giants Causeway mare First Passage. And this is loaded with the Secretariat, Mr. Prospector, Northern Dancer crosses, that are very prevalent. But, it's a mix that seems to work well as long as you can get them, fairly well lined up with each other in the 4th, 5th, maybe 6th generations, and get them aligned in the same generation if you can, for maximum effectiveness. Being a Bernardini mare, I've already announced very publicly that I am in full support of any Bernardini mare going to Gunrunner, and basically for that nice double of Quiet American. So let's see what she looks like with Gunrunner here. In addition to the double Giants Causeway, of Quiet American. So what you get is a nice double of both Giants Causeway. I can't say that word today. Giants Causeway and Quiet American. So it's 3-3 Giants Causeway in the dams, and 4-4 to Quiet American through Bernardini and the second dam of Gunrunner. And so you get this, again, another line of Fabiano. You get Dehir, you get a son of Deputy Minister. So you get more Secretariat. You get more Mr. Prospector through the third dam of Burned is a mare named Win Crafty Lady, who is the daughter of Crafty Prospector, of course, by Mr. Prospector. And there's just so much to like. There's a double of a nice blue hen mare named Alanesian. And there's just so much to love about this mating. Lots of Dr. Fager. A lot more blush and groom to add to the mix, and crafty prospector. So let's look at I want to look at the third dam windcrafty lady here, and oh boy, she's a treasure trove. So you get full sister crosses of the Rough and Tumble Mare treasure chest, and her full sister, My Dear Girl, who is of course the dam of In Reality. You get a double of Intent, and this is all in the 5th generation, but lots of Discovery. You get Bugpasser, Jaipur. And these are, Jaipur, I believe, was also a very, very well-designed pedigree. His dam is actually very heavily loaded with spearmint. And then Nazrula also carried spearmint through Nearco. But I absolutely love the pedigree of Windcrafty Lady here. So, if they want to send her to tap it, they could also do that and get a nice double of AP&D, although it'd be through the mail lines. But burned, when they decide to retire her, I would say send her straight to Gunrunner. It's a beautifully built pedigree cross between the two. And lots of nice inbreeding there. And I was still trying to find that second cross of, it says there's a second cross of Alanesian here, and I was still trying to find it. Oh, there it is, through Boldenesian, the grandsire of Seattle Slough. Yep. Okay. So, and let's go ahead and move on to the next one here. So, I guess that does it. We come to our final horse, which is your 2-year-old champion last year. First place went to Good Magic. And Good Magic, of course, is by Curlin, out of the hard spun mare Glinda the Good. And again, you get lots of the Northern Dancer, Mr. Prospector cross. But you get Curlin, who's out of the Deputy Minister mare, Sheriff's Deputy. But you also get a lot of Domino in the second dam of Curlin. You get a double of Olympia through Smart Strike and Danzig, and so you also have Roberto and Buckpasser present in the dam, Glinda the Good. That cross is very hot. She also carries La Troyenne through Never Bend, through Good Magic's 4th dam. And, Hard Spun has, let me take a look at the pedigree of Hard Spun here. You get lots of Prince Quillo. You get that Prince Quillo Nazrula mashup. Just a lot of goodness. Sir Galahad. And then, when you add the Bulldog from Mr. Prospector on top of that, with Curlin, let's see. I somehow lost that pedigree here, so let me type it in again. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so Curlin was, Mr. Prospector carries Bulldog, and, Smart Strike added Olympia. Curlin added more, some La Troyenne, and, Sir Gaylord, who's, of course, the half to Secretariat. Buckpasser. And I think AP&D would, some AP&D mares would go well here, adding more Secretariat, who, AP&D also carried Secretariat and Sir Gaylord, so you add more of something royal there. Hardspun also carries My Babu, who carries Turbolon. You get a lot more of the Nazarula, Prince Quill lash ups all throughout the pedigree. So I think that will do it for today. A shorter show. But we're going to try to get on Cynthia McGinnis next week, now that we have our computer hardware back up and running, to do a well-recorded interview. And we also are trying to get out to John and Tanya Gunther. So if any of you are friends with the Gunthers, please have them give a listen to our show and then give us a call. We'd like to do an interview with them, and we've had on, numerous other, top names in the thoroughbred breeding business. So, I'd like to keep that going and maybe see if we can get them on our show. But anyway, we almost forgot the big news. So let's talk about Justify now that he's retired a stud. I may get I may get heavily criticized for my opinion here, but pedigree aside, how many people are going to really want to breed to a sire knowing that he may or may not produce a good 2-year-old? We saw what he looked like after the Kentucky Derby. He didn't look like he was in great shape. I was never really convinced that the horse was 100% sound. He has a lot of good pedigree aspects to them, but the family 2F is a little different for me in the means that they produce some good dirt runners, but overall have really been really have had a heavy bent for the turf. So, given that the family has a heavy influence on turf, although they've had a couple of good dirt runners like Shackelford, Gone West, those standouts, Pulpit, you still have to ask yourself though, is that dirt and turf combination really going to play out in Justify's progeny? I don't know. I really can't say for sure. But I just want to, congratulate, the Connections on Justify for having a good run. And, we do wish him the best of success in his stallion career. I'm not sure that he's going to be, quite the stallion. Of course, we don't know if American Pharaoh's progeny can run yet, but, he had a very, American Pharaoh had a very solid dirt background in his pedigrees where, the inbreeding on Justify suggests that maybe he was more possibly bred for dirt, but has some turf influences in him. Although it looks like he's purely dirt, but I could see a lot of crossover into turf for the stallion based on the double lines of narrate, because that family 2F, tracing back to Fiola, Aloe, Knight's Daughter, they have a heavy preference for the turf. I'm not sure if many people really realize that, but they do. And Ellen Parker documented this very well in her Pedlines article on this family that she did a long time ago. So I just want people to keep that in mind. Sending a dirt mare, sending a turf mare to Justify might not be a bad thing. Also given Nijinsky's success on turf, don't be surprised if we see Justify turn into more of a turf stallion. While he certainly was very successful on dirt, I kind of see him maybe going towards turf. I know people are going to say, maybe call some BS on me, but that's just a prediction. We can all make predictions at this point, and that's mine. So anyway, that wraps it up for us this week, and we will see you next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to, you can go to pedigreeradio.com and listen to any previous episodes. Until next week, my name is Jared Gauntlitz. I'm your host, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.